Hello everyone, it is Jim Okerzinski with this week's lecture video. Now I might have mentioned it in the screencast video that I published out on Sunday covering the week's events, pointing to the annotated bibliography. One thing I did add, and I'll get to the annotated bibliography in a minute, I did add to our Blackboard unit here for Chapter 2, the library resources. I call it the library research in the day of COVID-19. What you have is, actually, what we had was almost a 2-hour library session scheduled in our lab with Jason Ertz, who is our English librarian over at the College of DuPage. However, since we've gone online only for the spring, that session is not going to happen. So, in lieu of the lack of in-person sessions, Jason has put together a guide for library resources and some videos that may help you work with the library site and perform research for your particular research topic. So one item that I've added to this is the handout that Jason does pass out at every library session. It is about 7 or 8 pages of PDF. You can download and look at that. Give some great tips. I always grab my extra copies and give them to students who don't show up for the library session. But as I say here, I urge everyone to take the time to view some of the videos like Chasing Citations, the library catalog, database introduction, and even the searching and Google tips. All right. So you'll see the links here for all the videos. Chasing Citations is 25 minutes. Library catalog searching is only 8. Database introduction and searching is 30 minutes. And the Google tips, which is really an interesting component in his library presentations. Okay, it's well worth your time. So we have some other links to resources here also that the library is available. I believe they're working remotely. You can schedule a time to chat with a librarian. I have not tried to reach anybody at the library recently, so I'm not sure about the response times. But I do know everybody's working remotely and providing services to students. So I think that you should be able to reach a librarian. And even by the phone, you might be able to talk with somebody there. So be aware of the library research in the day of COVID-19. Here's all your resources, and I'll show how that plays into the annotated bibliography right now. All right, so the annotated bibliography is where you're going to search for the sources of information for your research topic. So, your final research essay, as I say here, is going to be 8 pages, 2,500 words. So, the purpose of this annotated bibliography is to define the scope and establish the research basis for that research essay. This assignment is worth 200 points. It's 20% of your course grade. So it is a significant assignment. So it's a good idea to use Zotero or Noodle Tools in a library or some other online tool to help you manage and format your bibliographic entries. Working in MLA, or if you have a topic that fits APA, you can use APA. You just need to let me know exactly what citation method you plan to use. So if you're using MLA, that's great. It's an English course and that's the standard. However, if you're moving to APA, just let me know that you're using APA, and you must remain consistent in your choice. So if you start out with APA, then you need to keep going with APA. If you decided to go with MLA, then proceed with MLA throughout. Oftentimes, I get an annotated bibliography submitted by students where one citation is MLA, one citation is APA, and that's not really what we do here. So there should be a consistency and style here. So your annotated bib will earn the most points if it contains all of the following components. You should have a minimum of 8 sources, but not more than 10 total sources, with at least one or two sources from each of the 4 categories listed below. So I will run through the categories and explain them. First off, you should have a research question and introduction. That should begin your annotated bibliography. A specific, clearly defined, focusing research question followed by a well crafted paragraph explaining background information about your interest in this question, its significance to you, and your potential readers about your research topic. Okay, so this element should take up no more than a third of the page, single spaced. I just want a good paragraph where you write an introduction so I have an idea of what's coming right after your particular introduction, right? So the first category is published books and articles, and everything has an annotation. And I'm going to talk about annotations when I finish up the explanation here of the bibliography. So I'm looking for books written by one or a few authors, edited collections of books. You can use a chapter in a book. You don't have to use a whole book, right? Scholarly, technical, or scientific articles if you're able to understand them. Something through the library databases. Using something like Academic Search Complete would certainly yield some of the scholarly and technical articles, depending upon your topic, that you would have them. Magazine and newspaper articles if they are substantive. So you also can use Academic Search Complete and the databases to locate newspaper and magazine articles. Such articles from the Atlantic or some papers like the New York Times, the Washington Post, some things that have a long reputation, even the Wall Street Journal, if you're in some sort of position where you find something from the Wall Street Journal, which is, some of those publications have been around a long time. Everything nowadays has some sort of a bias in that the writing there. So everybody has an agenda nowadays, it seems. So you should be able to determine if it is a substantive article. Maybe something from Time magazine in that particular category too. So must contain research publications from an academic, professional, or technical discipline. All right. Ask for help, but I'm looking for at least a couple of sources from this category. Internet sources is the next category, number 2. Internet sources are typically unpublished, but often are sponsored by organizations, businesses, and government. Okay, .govs, .orgs, okay, even .coms. This category would include blogs, discussion forums, and your annotations of web sources. Explain the choice of each one based on its credibility or how it represents an important point of view related to your focusing question. So the internet sources could be a web page. Now this is a slippery slope here because internet sources sometimes are authored or not authored. Generally, they're not authored. You have to really look at some of these sources and these web sources and these web articles to see where the author is. Oftentimes, I have students who will not submit a citation with no author. They'll work with the title of the article or the web page, and somewhere toward the end of the article is embedded in there an author. So look those over, look at the date of publication, when was the page updated. So those are kind of tricky sources. Oftentimes students gravitate to those sources because they're easy to find through Google. However, they may not be the most reliable and creditable. So the third category here, all right, this category would be documentary films, TED presentations, and other significant items from visual media. Okay, it's optional. I'm recommending this. There is a ton of digital content out there. TED presentations about your topics, documentaries. I get a lot of students who will give me a YouTube video. If it is an important production, it has some reliability and credibility to it, I'll even go with a YouTube video. All right. So the fourth category is living sources or field work. So I know time is short in this particular course this semester. Started off with a lot of extenuating circumstances as we move through. So the idea here is that field work might be difficult to achieve. Living sources, interviews are living sources. As you work through the chapters, Ballinger talks about four sources of information, and interviews are an excellent source of information. Talk to somebody who has had some experience in your particular topic. So the idea here is if you don't have somebody you can interview, all right, you then have to might be able to find somebody being interviewed, an expert, might be interviewed in a YouTube video. That would be okay if you use that and label it as a interview. So let me be clear on this point. All right, including I'm going to interview my friend who suffered this, and not actually having something to annotate is not considered a source. Every once in a while, I'll have some students say, I'm going to interview my Uncle Fred because he was in World War II and offers a different perspective and he's a previous generation. Well, that's great, okay? No problem with Uncle Fred, but you need to have the interview completed. You need to have something to annotate to add to your um, bibliography, right? I'm gonna interview somebody. It's kind of like the check is in the mail kind of thing. All right. So I need something in that respect there. So you can look at living sources. Now, if you have trouble finding something for living sources, and you're still short two sources for your annotated, then you have to move up to one of the other categories and fill in for that total of eight. Word to the wise: if there are not eight reliable and credible sources, your annotated will not get a passing grade. It's simple as that. I don't want six. I don't want seven. The assignment states the minimum as being eight. Okay. So after you're done with your annotations, you will also need a conclusion. Okay. After you do the research and talk about your particular sources, you should have evolved your thinking in your topic. All right. End your conclusion with a tentative thesis statement you can use to continue to shape your research project. So it's introduction, eight sources, citations, and annotations, a conclusion with a tentative thesis statement. Now let us discuss what is an annotation. So for each of your sources, you must include an annotation. Much like those, you include your reading notes, and it demonstrates the reason why you chose a source, who the authors are and their credibility, and you're thinking about the source by establishing relevance and the information it contributes to your research topic. So I say here, atypical annotations should strive to include: introduce the article by title and author, then explain why the source is credible. Be specific. You need to do more than just say, I found it in X database or journal. In other words, provide some background on the author and the source to identify perspective. Credentials. What makes this person an authority? So that's one part of your annotation. Second part of your annotation is to summarize the author's main argument and key supporting points. So after you work through your source, write a short summary. Usually a respectable paragraph is acceptable here. And then respond to what you find most interesting, significant, confusing, convincing, and explain how the source helps you gain a deeper understanding of your question on your research topic. What do you find most useful and what did you learn? So this is a three-part process for each annotation. Introducing the article and the authors and what makes them credible, what are their qualifications, summarize the article, and then respond to the article. What do you think? How does it add to your research topic? What is the relevance? All right. And then as you see here, the submit annotated working bibliography is the link is right here for the assignment. Upload your GDoc link. There is a folder in the course folder already in our Drive folder there, okay, with labeled the annotated bibliography. Please upload your GDoc there where I will comment and then drop the link here in the assignment. So you have much information for this particular lecture video. I've explained the annotated bibliography, the types of sources, once again what an annotation is, and also we've covered the library research in the day of COVID-19 to review your particular uh, review your particular what was I going to say? I forgot. The review your particular for your research for your topic then. All right. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of spacing out here a little bit today in this particular. So I've got a sample of an annotated here. I've kind of moved some stuff around. Let me see if I can get this PDF open for you. Yes, success. All right, benefits of a community college. This is an annotated bibliography. I believe it was done last fall, kind of close to your particular topics and also your particular assignment. So as you can see here, there's the introduction. We have citation, annotation, and so forth and so on. All right. So this is just a sample, an example for everyone to have an idea of how an annotation should be structured, the format, also for how some of the annotations should be put together. It's a reasonably decent example. Once again, because I use student examples, I don't really have control over all of them. Every one, it could be a little bit better. So there is the sample annotation. All right. So in heading back over to the announcements, on this week I have the annotated bibliography due the end of the week on Sunday the 12th. I realize that is probably a very quick due date, but given the fact of when the course started, when we had spring break, and our home stretch toward the end of the semester, be on the lookout. I might move the due date for that particular assignment out maybe a few days, and we'll go from there. All right. So if you have any questions with this particular lecture video, please send me an email. If not, just make sure that you can utilize all the tools. Sit down when you have some time, look at the videos, take some notes, and hopefully you'll be able to pull together your sources for the annotated and the research essay. All right, so I'm running up to about 17 minutes here. If you have any questions, like I said, email me. Good luck and stay safe out there.